Welcome to this very interesting segment on being an entrepreneur in the blockchain space. And you founded Nova DAO, co-founded it with a friend from school, I believe. So lovely to catch up and understand your journey and why you chose to get into this space. So please introduce yourself, Raghav, and we'll take it from there.
Hi, everyone. I'm Raghav. I'm 23 years old. I graduated from UCLA back in 2020. Ever since then, I've been back in New Delhi working on my own venture. It's called Nova DAO, which is a decentralized early stage venture capital fund, which we'll explore into. I met Arjun, I think, back in 10th grade when we were sort of formulating our applications, and we've been in touch ever since.
Great. So, for folks who are on LinkedIn, it's always interesting to know what are the new sort of startups, also new ideas. So when you say decentralized sort of venture capital sort of work, is it something like a angel version of it, Kickstarter? And what does the venture actually stand for? Nova DAO seems like a new term for me completely. So explain both.
So Nova DAO, two words. Nova obviously means new, it's Latin for new. And DAO is actually sort of one of the new buzzwords on, at least in the blockchain world. It stands for decentralized autonomous organization, which essentially refers to the idea of having permissionless entry into sort of a club where people can, instead of making unilateral decisions, make democratic decisions about the functioning of a venture. That could be like, control over a treasury or sort of the direction for a new business, anything. Essentially, it's sort of a decentralized and democratic replacement of a board of directors, so to speak.
And as far as blockchain and everything blockchain, that's what your LinkedIn profile says, or anything blockchain. What does that really mean for a layman? What kind of opportunities exist in the future for people interested in sort of being in that space?
So I think everyone knows. Everyone sort of knows the buzzwords associated with blockchain, decentralization, right? And permissionlessness and all that, of course. But I think what most people skip over as a big advantage of blockchain and cryptocurrencies and NFTs is community and incentivization. These things have an insane capability of incentivizing people, anything for anything. Like, I don't know if you know, but a few months ago, 5-Star opened this little room in Bombay, and you could just go in there and connect to their website and mint nothing coin. Because, I think their slogan is 5-Star khao kho jao. So the idea was to pay people for doing nothing. But if you sort of, if you extend that principle into a lot of things, to what else can I incentivize? For example, near field communication, NFC chips are very common. They're almost everywhere. So if you could have one in your shoe and with Bluetooth on your phone, for example, Nike could incentivize you to literally walk in their shoes by paying you in sort of their own cryptocurrency, so to speak. So I think these are the major unlocks that people are discovering now, which is how do you band together a group of people into a common goal, and how do you incentivize good people, like best practices and good behavior. That is what all things blockchain really mean to me. It's not really about, of course, decentralization, and that goes saying that has to be a part of it. But I'm looking towards people who are working on incentivizing new things, creating new communities.
Okay, great. So as a venture fund in this fairly specialized and sort of burgeoning, growing sphere, what kind of opportunities do you scan? And do you have a deal flow that sort of you're working towards in sort of kind of closing very soon?
So like I told you, we're not actually at launch yet. So the first part of a DAO governed fund or a DAO governed venture would be to form the DAO, right? So how that happens through a sale of NFTs, which also finance the fund. So we're currently in the process of building a community, which will then be open to invite to join the DAO via buying our NFTs. We're still in that stage. I think that is like, you talked about deal flow, you talked about finding new projects. I think that is where you leverage the power of a DAO with good incentivization, where, instead of having a venture capital fund run by 2 people and then 5 more employees and then 5 more scouts on top, now you have 5,000 people in every corner of the world, right? So you have, and obviously they're incentivized to participate, to find new projects. Of course, you still have in-house expertise, So I think that is where interesting, like that is how correctly. So currently, a lot of, by the way, a venture DAO is not a new thing. Just so everyone knows, venture DAOs are popping up left, right, and center. But they have a problem, and with good reason. Either they are too expensive. So like many of them have about a $500,000 entry ticket, which is not really decentral, not really democratic, right? It's like if you have 500 grand to spare, then yes, you're welcome. Or they're exclusive in terms of being invite only, a select few club of influencers or like people in the space. And of course, the big argument that they make is that, like you need expertise. But there's no reason that you cannot have a DAO with a good organizational chart, which still has sort of expertise in evaluation of information, but still a democracy in terms of decision making. There's absolutely no reason that that can't happen, which is kind of what we're focusing on. So you still use the tried and tested methods of sort of, a big part of a VC fund is also raising the company, right? It's not only just giving them money, it's also making sure that they actually grow into something successful. So you still have the right people for that, but there's no reason you cannot utilize the sheer power that a network of 7,000 people spread across the globe gets you.
So it's kind of flipping the entire model where a 23-year-old can start a VC fund and also not necessarily have the baggage of say an office space or people specialized in certain things, but a democratized 5,000.
Well, obviously at scale, you will have the basic people running your thing, and you will have people who's like for their job, like, currently also we have people. There'll obviously be someone who's in charge of filtering through proposals that come across, and of course all of that. But it's more about democratizing the governance rather than democratizing the procedure, if that makes sense.
We're also looking at similar ventures to fund, right? So it's kind of a pool of very like-minded sort of founders who you would be.
Yes, of course. And also, obviously, I didn't want to, again, because the whole idea was inclusivity, I didn't want to make an investment philosophy and then form a DAO. It should rather be that a DAO comes together and forms an investment philosophy of that fund. So I'm not really going focused on, okay, this is what we will look at. This is what we will. Obviously, the whole idea is to build that community from ground up in a very organic way, and then sort of build direction from there.
All right, so let's step back a little bit about entrepreneurship in general, and having a co-founder, working with maybe an initial small team. How would you sort of explain two things? One, how to find the right co-founder, and B, the initial startup team, what the composition of it is, what skill sets you would want.
So I think thankfully I didn't have to go through the struggle of finding. My co-founder is my best friend since high school, so that obviously helped. I would not be able to, but I do know that people really like. I know there's specific websites and stuff where people like post for co-founders and all. Obviously, that's not enough. You have to go meet people. You have to sort of make sure it's not just about their skill set, right? It's also about you and them, because that's going to be the biggest problem. Most of the times, I don't think anyone who's chosen as a co-founder by anyone will have a problem in that they are not capable. It's more be like the interpersonal relationship and stuff. So obviously, I think one thing which is fairly obvious, don't be in a hurry. Lots of people will just sign on anyone as a co-founder, which is the same thing, the same principle for the team part. I think it's a good segue. I think it was Airbnb, which is one of the most famous stories, where he took 8 or 9 months to hire his first person. And funnily enough, he used to ask people back then, if you had only 1 year to live, would you still want this job? So like, obviously that is, I don't know how good that is, like being that level of picky, but I do think picky is the way to go.
And maybe during COVID, it's not a bad question to ask.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, picky is obviously the way to go. But I think beyond picky, it's also very important to be very honest about your own shortcomings and making sure you're fulfilling those gaps. For example, like one of the biggest things for me was that I am not the best at sort of social media and like sort of going on to Discord and talking to people all day. And the first goal was find someone who's experienced in that. And we found a lovely person who's joined us as project manager from Australia. Obviously it took time and it was fully organic. We knew him through some other groups, some other NFT projects. But I think many people I've seen are just not honest to themselves or like to the world at large about what they are lacking. And that is why they don't even know that they don't acknowledge the problem that needs fixing, and they're just trying to fix it. That I've seen that more than once.
Yeah, this is completely honest answer. I think loved everything about what you're doing or starting and building. So all the best and look forward to following this journey and having many more sessions in the months
Yeah.
to
Thank
come.
you. Thank you for having me.